What's up, everybody? This is Terrence Plummer II. You're tuned in to the UCF Football Updates podcast. Let's go.
This is Mac Loudermilk, and you're listening to the UCF Football Updates podcast.
What up, Night Nation? This is Alan from UCF Football Updates, and you're tuned in to the UCF Football Updates podcast. On today's episode, we speak with former UCF defensive back Kyle Gibson, who played for the Knights from 2014 to 2018, was a former first-team all-conference member, and was one of the highest-rated recruits in UCF history. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Kyle. How you doing?
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Doing good, Alan.
Hey, man, we're excited to have you on the show. I've definitely been looking forward to this interview. So I mentioned, right off the top there, you're one of the highest recruited players in UCF history. Back in 2014, UCF wasn't really landing too many four-star recruits like you, and you were obviously at a football powerhouse like Armwood, up in Tampa there. So what made you choose UCF over offers from, like, I know I saw Miami, Florida State, Wisconsin. How'd you choose UCF over all those big schools like that?
Man, I'm almost excited to tell that story. So I was actually committed to Vanderbilt. I had committed to them this summer going into my senior year of high school. And I was fully committed. And then about 2.5 weeks before signing day, Coach Franklin, who's I believe he's still at Penn State now. Yeah. He actually left, so kind of it was a decision to, stay there or follow. And, I kind of opened up my recruitment. And I actually, I went on a visit. I had played with the Griffin twins. I played with them in 7-on-7, just the Team Tampa, Team Tampa 7-on-7. And that's how I knew them. And Coach Kurt Callahan, he was my high school coaches, Sean Callahan. He was his son, so he was the DB coach at UCF. And I had the offer, and he kind of spoke to me then. I knew the twins were up there. I took the visit, man, and that was it. And fresh off the Fiesta Bowl as well. So, that was it, man. That was it.
So Shaquem and Shaquille actually kind of helped pave the path for you to go to UCF?
A little bit, just because of the familiarity and the timing, right after the BCS, they played Baylor.
Sure.
The proximity to home, just Florida, and just I kind of saw it was kind of cool because, just kind of how things went. That was the vision of just going to UCF. You want to go to a school that you could. In my head, I want to come in. Of course, every recruit come in right now and play, but I want to develop something like the school, just having that relationship with them, being close to home, knowing Coach Callahan, and it worked out, man.
No, absolutely. It's funny. I've talked to some of your former teammates, and a big reason why some of them had, obviously big offers like you did, big Power 5 schools. And a lot of them have said one thing that got them there was, the chance to play right away, no doubt, like you just said, but a lot of them said they were just blown away from the facilities and just the campus. How much did that play a factor for you as well?
It did play a factor, just being right here in Tampa, having South Florida, they weren't successful at the time, having them right there. But just kind of once I went up and seen the school and just seen the visit, just seeing how big the school was, and just one thing UCF is known for is construction. Even
under construction forever, right?
It's never finished. Right. Just before I went up there, things were still being built, and you kind of saw just how the school was growing. And even it's crazy now. I was talking to somebody else, I think it was Rashard Kazi the other day, and the recruiting pitch when I was going there was we were going to the Big 12. It was talks of the same schools now, kind of Houston and Cincy,
right, and
just going to the Big 12. So that's kind of what motivated me, just seeing the upside.
Yeah, you knew you could build something there, no doubt.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was actually Rashad was on my podcast, the most recent one a couple of weeks ago. He actually happens to be my neighbor, man. He lives a few doors down from me. So yeah. So I'm walking my dog. I run into him. Yeah, I know he's going up to play at the USFL right now, but he kind of talked about some of the same stuff you're talking about. But I want to get into your playing days at UCF, and I want to start from the beginning. But first, before I get into that, obviously you played at UCF for some very influential years in school history. I mean, you played there from 14 to 18, from, a year when you guys didn't even win a single game to the best time in school history with that 25 game win streak. So let's start with that 2014, your first season. You were kind of on the scout team there before you started playing, but you were in a DB unit that featured like Jacoby Glenn, Clayton Geathers, Brandon Alexander. I mean, we're talking a lot of future NFL guys there, guys like, Glenn, Clayton Geathers, they all played in the NFL. So what was that like playing around those future NFL guys? Did that like kind of influence you and motivate you to play better?
Yes, definitely. It was awesome, man. Just knowing those guys, like, it was kind of like, they were your big brothers. Like, it's funny because even before going to UCF, it's like, I don't want to say it, having confidence pretty much in high school, being a top recruit, you're thinking you're going to come in and play right now. But once I got there, I saw just quick, just in the summer, like just from body, from strength, just technique of being a DBE, just mentally, and just watching and learning from those guys. It was awesome. Just kind of my freshman year, true freshman year. It was frustrating kind of being red-shirted, but I learned, it was a process, man. You kind of got to wait your time and work. So it was nice.
Well, that's kind of interesting though. Like someone like you comes in as a 4-star recruit, like one of the highest recruited guys in UCF history. And you're probably like, I'm going to play right away. But then when you get there and you see guys like Jacoby Glenn and guys that are super talented, did that like kind of like alter your perception of UCF? Like maybe before you got there, like, oh, like I'm going to be the man right away. But then you get there and you're like, whoa, there's actually some talented dudes here. Or did you kind of expect that going in? You knew there was going to be some talent in the DB room.
Quick, man. Just because, so having those guys there, like it was even guys before them, like just Kamal, just Kamal. Man, I can't even.
Or so many great DBs.
Yeah, just other guys, but just having those
Atari
guys,
Big
man.
B, yeah, like
just all of those DBs. But it was kind of eye opening because in high school you don't really see what guys are doing in college, so you don't really know. But just once you get there and just having to adapt to that technique and having those guys, like even those guys like Clayton and Jacoby and Brandon Alexander, those Jordan Ozerites as well at corner. It was guys behind them, DJ Killings and Shaquille. So, we were kind of deep a little bit. So even just then, I kind of knew I had to wait my turn a little bit and just learn from those guys and practice. I understood it was a process.
No doubt. Well, so then you get into 2015 season, you start playing a little bit there. I guess that's your redshirt freshman year. Obviously UCF has one of the worst years, and I mean the worst year in school history. You go 0-12. Talk about that year a little bit, but also, I know the transfer portal didn't exist back then, but did you kind of like when you go 0-12, you're like, damn, did I make a mistake? Like, did you consider transferring? Or were you like, hey, I'm going to stick this out no matter what? And just talk about that year as a whole and how hard it was.
Man, just definitely that year was rough. Like just even knowing, because the first year, we won, like we didn't have a conference championship then, but it was a 3-way tie between us, Memphis, and Houston.
Yep.
So just next year, my first year being on the field, going on 12 and being in some of those games, it was rough. You didn't go into a game thinking that you were going to lose, but it was just kind of like, just mentally, just from the coaches, Coach O'Leary and everything. But I would say, just through that time, I don't think we probably could have went undefeated if we didn't go through that. Just because a lot of lessons that we had, just getting Coach Frost and just kind of going through that kind of had everybody open to new coaches and just open and accepting to a new process and just to, just a new way. But it was rough, man. It was rough. Just being whooped like that in certain games, it was frustrating. But again, I think guys kind of after that season, like we knew, we had to work hard. And yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you talked about, Coach Frost coming in a little bit there. So can you talk about that transition of going from George O'Leary, who's kind of like that old school mentality, right? Like he's kind of that old school mentality coach. Then Frost, who when I've talked to some of your former teams, he's a player's coach, like real cool guy, like let you do what you got to do as long as you get your job done. Talk about playing under Frost, but also just Coach Chin's, like that transition from O'Leary and then, you know, Coach Chin's is your DC and then obviously Coach Frost. What was that like?
Man, it was I feel like every player tell you, like, just each day it was exciting. It was exciting, you know, like, no offense, with all respect and everything to Coach O'Leary, it's just it was like an old way, you know, just even your uniform couldn't really, you know, swag out everybody. It was you know, you were limited to certain things. Like, even I didn't have facial hair then.
Yeah, the shave, right? Yeah.
Shave, everything. So just getting Coach Frost, you know, I think just being open to that, just a new strength coach, Coach Duval, Coach Zach Duval, and just having all of them, like, each day was exciting. We even had like the program that summer, and it kind of brought out, I guess, certain leaders and the team, and it kind of made everybody close. Like, even as we kind of got closer to certain coaches, just even coaches open to us in camp. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to talk fast, but
no, all good. You're all good. No worries.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Just Coach Frost, he was a player's coach. Like, he wouldn't really get on you. He wouldn't get on you for not really making a mistake, but it was just effort. You know, he just kind of wanted you to go 100%. And just Coach Chin's, the defense, for me, it was exciting because it was the defense, a 3-4 defense, what I was used to in high school. So I switched from, with Coach O'Leary, I played corner, and I switched to safety. So, you know, I was excited. I kind of felt home, you know, safety. That's what I was used to. I played safety all through high school. The defense, we had more tools, just the defensive backs. Like, it was fun.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I guess, you know, I thought you were safety throughout your entire UCF career, but you started out as a corner at UCF then, is what you're saying? Under O'Leary? Oh, so how, what was, like, why did they have you a corner if safety was your more natural position? How did that work out?
I guess when I did come in, Coach Kirk Callahan, he kind of gave me the choice a little bit, because I want to say I was forced to play safety in high school, but it was just, you know, just what my school, that's all I played pretty much, you know. So coming into college, I think it was a size thing. I think it was a size thing as well, just playing corner. And I mean, I don't wish later in my career, I kind of wish I could have played corner a little bit more, but, you know, I enjoyed playing safety, kind of a physical player, just mentally being able to see the game and seeing it unravel, just, you know, from far, just in depth, and just having those tools, like I said, as well, in Coach Chin's defense. It was fun, but the transition, I would say, and the difference between corner and safety is just kind of the technique. But I think just coming in and playing corner my first year did kind of help me be a better safety as well.
Well, hey, man, you were a hell of a safety for UCF. Everyone knows that. But I want to talk about now, like, that 2017 season. Like, that was just, you know, epic for you guys, the fans, the coaches, everyone. So talk about that 17 season. I'll never forget Jordan Akins before the season in, like, the media interviews. He was like, someone said, like, what do you think you can do this year? And, like, he's like, I think we can go undefeated. I don't think anyone really believed that when he said that. I mean, he was on the offensive side of ball, which they got a lot of credit that year. The offense was amazing in 2017, but, like, you being on the defense, did you think you guys, you know, in 2016, you were 6-7, you had lost the bowl game to Arkansas State. You go to 2017. Did you guys think you could have that type of season, or was that kind of even a surprise to you?
I wouldn't say I did. I knew we were going to have a good season. I knew we were going to be good. I didn't really see, of course, I don't want to say nobody expects or sees it, you know, going that far, but I knew we were going to be good. Like, we had a lot of people coming back. It was our second year with Coach Frost's system. Like, you know, we were comfortable at the end. We had some added players. We had got Mike Hughes, and it was McKenzie's second year. I still tell people we kind of saw, like, as a defense, like, just that spring, just competing with him and just going back and forth. We kind of saw him grow as a player and just saw him grow his confidence. And it was just like watching the show, you know, on the sideline. But before the season, we kind of saw the schedule, and I know we had a couple big games. Like, early in the year, we had Maryland, and after that, it was kind of mostly conference play. So kind of seeing that and knowing and just kind of going through the year, you know, Memphis as well, kind of getting through those games, you know, we knew we had a chance. So it was kind of almost like a dream year, man. Like everything kind of fell into place, but it was definitely fun.
There's no doubt it was a dream year. Absolutely. You know, I think when we look at, now it's been 5 years, we look back at that season, and I think everyone all you know, resorts to the offense, right? I mean, they're putting up 40, 50, 60 points a game on the regular. But you were on the defensive side of the ball. So I always like to get this perspective. I mean, there was definitely games where the defense gave up a lot of points, like that Memphis Conference Championship, you know, USF game, you gave a lot of points. But what was that like playing on the defensive side? I mean, you have that comfort knowing that the offense is going to score a lot of points, but like, was that hard? Like, because the offense got all the glory, or like, hey, you knew as defense, you had some ballers. I mean, kind of just talk about everything from the defensive side. Was it hard seeing the offense get all the credit, and like, you know, what was the defensive strength that year in 2017?
I don't think it really was. It wasn't really hard. I feel like that could be depend on, you know, the point of view from looking at, but like, I definitely would say like, okay, so that year, a lot of defensive backs, like me and Trey Neal, that was our first year being able to start. And like, it was our second year in Coach Frost's defense. So kind of our first year in the defense, we kind of got a chance to sit back and watch. And a lot of those games, it was conference games. Like Maryland, we played them a second time. We played them the year before. Like, real deal. And the defensive backs there, my first interception against Maryland that I had, me and Mike Hughes, we knew the play was coming just off of film study. Like,
okay,
we were that dialed in as a defense. It was kind of different. Like, just kind of the first year under Coach Frost, we learned from our mistakes. Just kind of we got closer. Just it was fun, man. Like, I don't know, some games, I guess, just looking at, you know, maybe giving up some points, you know, could be, I don't want to say a problem, but at the end of the day, we knew, you know, we were going to get the job done. We knew we were going to, you know, tighten up. So.
Absolutely. Well, I think, you know, one thing, even though, you know, that year, there's a couple games where you gave a lot of points. What I think us as fans that we saw is like, we knew you guys were going to get turnovers though. You guys got turnovers, man, like interceptions, fumble recoveries. Like, we knew, like, even if it was a close game, tie game, or it was like, hey, you know, the defense has been giving up like big yard plays all day. Like, we knew you guys were just one play away from like taking to the house on a pick six or wherever the case may be. So, you know, I think that was really cool that year. It was like, you guys had a ton of talent and you might get some points, but you know, you guys were going to produce those turnovers, which that matters in like a close game. It changes the game, you know?
I would say this though, the two games you did mention, the USF and Memphis. Yeah, those were rough. It was a challenge, but like, just kind of the magic about that year, it was almost like just watching the offense. Like, a lot of those guys having the confidence in just McKenzie, like you said, Jordan Akins and Shaquem, like the D line, just like, that was another thing playing with the defense. It was almost like everybody played together, like all three phases. Just like you had our front seven, just the D line, our backers in the middle, Pat Jasinski holding it down, Shaquan, Cat, Jemias Pittman, Tony, and just the defensive backs. Like, it was kind of like we were all one. You know, we were all one. So it definitely was fun, man. That's I know I'm saying that, but that's the best way I can say it. Just like Coach Chen's, that's how he was. Like, just some of the blitzes that he created. Jack, he was our GA assistant. Just some of the things he did. Coach Travis Fisher, our DB coach at the time. Like, it definitely was a year, man.
No, it was awesome, man. You had a lot of studs on that defense, no doubt. You know, I don't a lot of times ask about like the X's and O's, but I'm interested to hear, like, you know, sometimes you read stuff on Twitter, or, you know, now with Chins over at Nebraska, like, I know the first couple of years he had struggles, and you heard like maybe he was going to get fired, but then this last year the Nebraska defense was, you know, really good. Can you talk a little bit about his defense? Like, was it a very, like, what made it effective? Like, even though you gave up some points and everything, like, did he have a very good defensive scheme?
Yeah, I think it was good. Just the biggest thing I'll say is like flexibility, because just kind of seeing the defense, it was almost like you would have a base call, and depending on the formation that the offense gave you, you had a call off of that. Like just kind of coverage wise at the defensive back, we had tools. We had so many tools we could use, like just, just having that. And it was different from playing, with Coach O'Leary. It was kind of, even though I didn't, play as much then, the defense, I would say it was kind of based a little bit. But just having those tools and just having that confidence, just kind of knowing what's coming is like just getting a call and just waiting to see, just what you're going to get. And just having that, it makes you play more free, just kind of mistake free. Just, you get what I'm saying? Just kind of just help you just fly around a little bit. Less thinking.
Yeah, no doubt. I get you. Well, now I want to talk about, so then, you go into your senior year, obviously Frost leaves for Nebraska, as does the entire staff. And Coach Heupel comes in, Randy Shannon comes in as your DC, and you're a senior at this point. It's your last year at UCF. I mean, was that talk about the transition from Frost to Heupel, and did it make it easier because it was like, hey, it's my last year, like whatever, I just got 1 year left, or what, or was that hard? Like, were you like, damn, like, because I saw, like, there was a couple clips that UCF social media put out when Frost announced he's leaving. Everyone looked super depressed. I mean, how hard was that, him leaving, because you guys were such a good brotherhood and he was such a great coach for you guys. But I mean, talk about that transition from him to Heupel and Shannon and what that was like, and for you as a senior.
Yeah. I would say it was rough. It was rough, man. Just when it happened, but like at the same time, it was like just how I told you with Coach John Franklin leaving, like 2 weeks before signing day. It's kind of the reality, of college football. It's just you understand at the end of the day, it's a business. Like, it was tough. Just, how he left, because we knew he didn't really want to. We got close to him. It wasn't like we had a bad year, so it definitely was rough. Like, I would say that first spring, just having to learn a new defense, and just the offense as well. Like, it was a process. Like, over the summer, it definitely was a big transition, and just kind of work put in. And I kind of understood that it was my last year. I had thoughts of transferring to Nebraska, just going and following Coach Frost. But, I said, no, I want to end my time here at UCF. But it was a process, man. But I definitely did respect Coach Heupel. I enjoyed Coach Randy Shannon. Definitely had fun in Coach Shannon defense. Just kind of just having the history and just getting that wisdom from him and just that coaching staff. It was nice, man.
That's cool to hear, because obviously I wasn't in the locker room or anything, but you hear stories and you're never sure, like, was some people like Heupel, some people didn't, but that's cool to hear that you sounds like you got along with all three coaching staffs, Leary, Frost, and Heupel. So that's cool. But I want to talk about 2018. So you go undefeated again in the regular season, and then you play LSU in the Fiesta. And I always say two things changed that game. One, Mackenzie Milton not playing, obviously. We had Daryl Mack, and then I say you getting ejected for targeting. Like, I think that was a big part of that game. And then I think that penalty call against, I forgot who it was against. They called a BS penalty call, like I think it was against Randy Charlton, right?
Oh, you're talking about the personal foul?
Yes, the personal.
Yes, that game. Yes, that game.
That was BS. Man, just even
after, it was like, it was a couple people, I spoke to just after the game. It was different opinions, but it was rough, man. Like, just that targeting. Just your last game, I definitely can't.
I want to ask you about that. Like, what was that like, getting ejected in your last game like that?
I mean, you understand, you do understand it was a game, and like the only thing that kind of, I guess, threw me off, because the refs didn't really throw a flag or anything on the field. It was just kind of like, I did the hit. I didn't think it was a bad hit. I kind of just did the hit. I went to the sideline. I was getting ready to run back on the field, and Coach, our safeties coach at the time, Coach Willie Martinez, he was like, "You can't go." He was like, "They got you for targeting." I was kind of confused, but it was a process, man. That game was rough. It was rough, but I did just like to see it was tough watching it in the locker room, but I did like to see just how they competed and how everybody else just competed and finished the game. It was good to see, man. But it would have been nice to finish though.
Yeah, it was a depressing game, but
Yeah.
you know, obviously UCF loses that game by 8 points, one possession. I got to ask you though. I mean, and we know LSU the next year went on to win the national championship. That was probably one of the best college football teams of the last decade. I mean, they were amazing. Burrow, all those guys. But if KZ is the quarterback of the 2018 Knights against LSU in the Fiesta Bowl, does UCF win that game, or was LSU still just on a different level?
Definitely wins the game. I don't say everybody, it's no question. But what confirmed it for me was like after training, I trained with the defensive back from LSU. I'm not even gonna say his name. And he told me this, he was like, bro, I thought you guys had it. And I said, that's all I need to hear. That's all I need to hear. Like, even he knew, like, he knew if we had McKenzie as well, you know. It was like we were prepared for that game. Like, we were prepared, man, just as a defense, like, you know, just kind of year before playing Auburn and just kind of in that underdog role to kind of going up against them. You know, we prepared, but it was just still to compete and just have that experience and just to show everyone for the conference and just to be the first ones and just kind of, you know, before Cincinnati do it, it was. I
mean, Mac, you know, I think he had some great moments in that game, but McKenzie's in there. I think it's a whole different ball game. And like, you know what I mean? He had that experience, but you know, look, you can't win them all, but that was still a great game. Cool 2 seasons. I want to ask you, you know, we talked about in your very beginning of UCF, you played around, you know, amazing, like Jordan Ozerites, all those guys. But then even, you know, when you were one of the best DBs on the team, and you're still playing around like Richie Grant and Aaron Robinson, who are in the NFL now. So what is that like, you know, especially when you're an older guy, experienced guy, what is that like playing in a stacked DB room? Are you kind of like, are you happy to play with other NFL guys, or would you rather kind of be like the man in the DB room? Or is that cool to be around like your brothers who are just as, you know, one of the, you know, and future NFL guys? Or what is that like kind of playing in a stacked DB room like that?
Man, I think everybody takes pride. You know, I think every DB room, you know, takes pride. Nobody just wants to be that one guy in the room. Like, it's, of course, the biggest saying, iron sharpens iron. Just everybody makes each other better. Just competing with each other. Just those guys. Like, just seeing those guys, you know, just come, you know, behind me and being right there. It's like, it's kind of like their little brothers, man. We're like, but you know, man, it's awesome. Like, just working out and competing with each other, just making each other better, correcting each other in the film room, just in the weight room, it's just all of that, man. I don't want to say that doesn't happen just by choice, but a lot of the great defensive back rooms that you see, or when you see a lot of guys, you know, go together, or even, you know, in the same class, it doesn't happen by, you know, just random, you know.
Yeah, no doubt. No, that's cool that you guys all kind of support each other. Well, I want to bring it up to present day a little bit. So, you know, I know right after the 2018 season, I think you had a mini camp invite. I want to say it was at the Falcons. I don't remember if I'm recalling that correctly, but talk about kind of your post UCF journey. So I know you had some NFL looks. So just kind of catch us up to speed on you know, your post college career.
Okay, post college, I actually had an invite. It was a rookie. The invite to it was the Ravens, actually.
Ravens,
and then
okay.
I had one to Philly, and both of them were just kind of invites. So you weren't just kind of free agent invites. So you kind of had to wait to get signed or come back. And both of them, you know, I thought, of course, I did pretty good. You know, both of them were just 3-day mini camps. You know, no contact. You know, light, you know, kind of light stuff a little bit. I was hoping to get an invite back, but, you know, it didn't work out. Eventually, I did go to the CFL with the Hamilton Tiger Cats for a little bit. I was in the preseason for a little bit. Almost kind of got a contract, but was kind of had an ongoing injury, surgery, or scapholunate reconstruction, which I kind of ended up getting after, and tried the XFL as well. I didn't get a chance, and it didn't work out for me, man. But I would say at one point, I don't want to say mentally it did. I don't want to say it worked, but it ate at me a little bit. Just kind of knowing, just your potential, and just kind of want to get there and reach there, but it doesn't work for everyone. And I kind of reached my peace with that pretty much, and just coaching, just doing that, and just this past year, just kind of doing that, and just kind of, I don't want to say seeing myself in the kids, or being able to just kind of give my knowledge to them, and just kind of seeing myself in them, man. It was definitely a pleasure, just kind of giving back and almost being a servant. You just kind of see what it's all about. You see what it's all about, man. But it's just like, just being able to go to UCF and have that experience, to play in those games, to play in high school, state championships. Everyone doesn't get the chance to do that, So just being able to say that and have that experience, I'm at peace. I'm at peace.
Well, yeah, you got to a level that very few people get to, right? You played for a major D1 a major high school, and then a major D1 college that you went to 2 massive bowl games, the Peach Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl. So there's no doubt about that. You made it past so many people. So I think you told me before the podcast that you're coaching at your former high school at Armwood. I think you're coaching DBs. So what's the plan now? You're going to coach there for a little bit. Are you trying to maybe coach college, NFL? Like, what's kind of the goal?
Coaching there a little bit, but not currently right now. Thinking about kind of getting into training, but still getting some plans together. So I don't really want to say too much thoughts, but kind of in the works, I would say right now.
Okay, so you got some stuff in the works, but it's on the down low right now. I got you. No worries, man. No worries. So I want to ask you a couple of questions that are just kind of related to college football. That I'd love to hear your opinion on. Like I just mentioned that you played against Auburn, you played against LSU, you mentioned Maryland, you played against. I like to ask this. What do you think is the biggest difference between the Group of 5 and the Power 5? Because I've asked now, guys that are on the D. I asked Tony Garrod. I've asked guys that are DBs like Rashad Kazi. I've asked offensive players. I've asked special teams like Mac Loudermilk when I've interviewed them. What's the biggest difference? A lot of times I get like skill players like running back, wide receiver. It's not a huge difference between Group of 5 and Power 5. A lot of times they'll tell me that the big difference is like on the lines, like the O-line, D-line. The Power 5s like the LSU just have a ton of 300 guys that they could just rotate in and out. But I'm curious to get your perspective. Like, what's the biggest difference that you see between an LSU and a UCF and as a whole, but also like DBs? We know LSU has some great DBs. So just kind of talk about how different is the skill level between the two?
I would say probably the biggest difference is maybe the front seven, a little bit. But I really don't think kind of now, I don't want to say now, but things have picked up a little bit. Definitely have picked up. A lot of players are seeing that you definitely have options. The only conference that of course you can say Power 5, but the only conference I would say that only separates himself from the rest of college football is the SEC.
SEC, everyone says SEC, right?
SEC, man, like that's the only conference. And just even with them, I feel like it's just having that depth everywhere, just kind of the front seven, or just having a freshman who can come in and play, right now. That's the only difference. But definitely, I feel like just kind of the skill levels, kind of receiver DBs, it's not much of a difference. Not much of a difference. Like maybe just kind of programs, maybe developing kids, just bodies over time. But it's not much.
So when you played like Maryland in the Big Ten, I think you played Pittsburgh in the ACC. So we'll take out the SEC for a second, but just like ACC, Big Ten, it wasn't too much of a difference, like UCF and those schools.
Well, Okay, when you say those, I would say Maryland and Pittsburgh, maybe the front seven a little bit, but I don't want to speak on that because you get what I'm saying. I was in the DB back then, so
So the front seven
I
might
wasn't
be
in the
different.
trenches.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the trenches, so I can't always speak on that. But I would say, I guess the two SEC opponents, Auburn and LSU, the defense. I noticed kind of just the interior and even I don't want to say the skill level, but the skill level or the skill players is kind of the same, like the speed. We were there, so it wasn't much of a difference.
Right. So like you said, like the front seven may be different, but like from your perspective, the DBs and the skill players, it's like it's relative. You guys can keep up, is my point, correct? All right, that's legit. All right, cool. So let's also get into a couple other present things about college football. So obviously when you were in school, the NIL did not exist. The transfer portal did not exist. I want to tell you my thing is with NIL, I think it's great that college football players can get paid now. It may sound kind of corny, but at the same time, I'm like, it kind of takes away a little bit from like the charm of college football. Like I love it's college football is my So I want to get your perspective. Like obviously, like when you were in school and someone came up to you and was like, "Hey, here's 50 grand," like why wouldn't you take that? I get that, but talk about like what do you think of NIL in college football now? Is that a good thing, a bad thing? What do you think?
I feel like it has its pros and cons. It's its pros and cons. I feel like it's definitely a great opportunity for kids, just students to get paid, pretty much just what they're doing. It's kind of almost like a job. I think it's great. But, if I don't want to say there should be a limit, but it is handled the right way. It was handled the right way. I'm not necessarily there, so I don't know the full details, everything of how it does and assists. But I would say with the transfer portal, I think it's great as well. But just kind of for me, just being kind of coaching as well in my first year in high school, I see the kids who not necessarily get put on the back burner. It's almost some of the high school kids. Because if you're a college coach, you're thinking, if I have a senior or two seniors who leave, you get what I'm saying? What's easier to replace a transfer or the scholarship for, recruiting a freshman or having to develop this player. So, but I still think it's, it's pros and cons. So it's a great opportunity for players, but, it has its downsides as well.
Agreed. Yeah, there's positive negatives to it, no doubt about that. So what about, you as a former player, since you've left, obviously we have a new coaching staff again, Coach Malzahn. His first year, he goes 9-4. He's really, I think, reinvigorated some excitement in the fan base, the players. What do you, as a former player, what do you think of the future and the direction of UCF? Do you like Coach Malzahn? Do you think he's the right man for the program? And are you excited about the future of the Knights program?
I'm definitely excited, man. I'm definitely excited. I definitely was excited about that win with Florida. I think that was great just for the program and just being able to dominate and show, you can compete with the SEC. And I think Coach Malzahn has the program in the right direction. I just saw the recruiting class this past year as well. It looks like he's got some guys, so I'm going to be watching. Definitely going to be watching, but I don't see us going down. We're going to the Big 12. When exactly do we get into the Big 12?
So this upcoming year is our final year in the American, and then the next year after that we're in the Big. So we got one more year left in the American.
One more year. So so just kind of, I think after seeing this year, kind of just finishing out in the AAC, just kind of finish strong. But I'm definitely excited for that Big 12. That's what I'm curious to see.
Well, you talk about that, like, you're coaching at Armwood, you played at Armwood. I'm sure right now you're probably coaching some 4-star, 5-star guys. What do you think UCF going to the Big 12 is what ultimately will put them over the top and getting some of those 4-star? I mean, you were one of the rare guys who was like, I'm going to UCF as a 4-star guy. Do you think, going to Big 12 will be that game changer where we'll get like 3-4 Kyle Gibsons, is that will be the ultimate like game changer for UCF?
I think so. I definitely think so. Cause I remember people, I feel like it's always going to be that, but I remember people kind of not laugh, but like questioning why, like why UCF versus, the other
Florida
schools.
State or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So looking now, so it feels good to just see how the school and just where the school is going now, and just to make that decision. But I definitely do think that the conference does make just because playing some of those schools in and out, and just some of those bigger schools and just bigger competition, because whatever they want to say, scouts definitely look at, the competition that you play. So I think that's going to be great for kids, and, location as well, just being in Orlando, just, where else.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. So I want to ask you a couple of final questions here that are kind of fun. You talked about that competition. Historically, UCF's two best positions are DB and wide receiver, the ones that go pro, right? We have that. I mean, I think the stat is, because I did some on my account where it's like, I think we've had 11 wide receivers and 12 DBs that have gone pro. So like the majority of our guys that go pro are DB or wide receivers. So you were a DB, you played against receivers at UCF. Who was the toughest receiver you went up against in practice at UCF? Because you played again. I mean, I think you had to Gabe Davis, Marlon Williams.
Look, you gotta. I don't want to say you do this clip, but toughest receiver, Traquan Smith.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just Traquan. Just because I told you how when I came in, I forgot I played my true freshman year, and my red shirt freshman year was the year we went on 12. Those were the 2 years that I played corner. So just kind of having to compete with him in one-on-ones and practice, just even still, just seeing, where he just to develop now. But yeah, that was the toughest for me.
All right. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, he's an NFL guy, New Orleans Saints. What about who was the toughest opponent wide receiver you went against, like in conference, like whether it was a Memphis guy, Cincy guy, who, or it could be, obviously non-conference too. Who was the toughest guy you went up against?
Okay, the toughest guy we played, just seeing, of course, it was Anthony Miller.
Everyone says Anthony Miller. That's funny. Yeah,
just him. But I do remember the guy we kind of like not scouted but prepared for the biggest, the most was Courtney Sutton before like the year we played them. But he didn't really do, I don't want to say he didn't do he had a good game, but it wasn't, like Anthony Miller. Anthony Miller, I gave my kudos to him.
Well, didn't Sutton, I think that was in 20, he had a huge drop in that game, right? He had a huge drop that could have maybe won the game for them. That was in 2017,
I think
right?
that was actually, that wasn't him. That was actually Trey, the other receiver.
It went pro too, right? He went pro.
Yeah, I can't remember his last name.
Trey, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
he's from Louisiana.
He transferred from LSU over. Yeah. I know what you're talking.
I think he played with Washington. I think he first got picked up with Washington.
Yep, I think you're right. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so then getting back to UCF, what was your favorite on-campus restaurant that you went to all the time with maybe your teammates or just in general? Or it could have been off campus, like a Hugh Magoo's or something like that.
At first it was Magoo's. Like when I first got there, but because I redshirted, so I was there 5.
Okay.
So I'll say Burger U. Okay. Burger U.
Right there by the stadium, right?
Right there.
Do you now that I know you're back in Tampa, but do you come back ever for games or anything? You still connected to the school at all? I
do still come back every now and then. I think I didn't go back this last season, but the last game I went to was the Stanford game. I believe when with Richie and Aaron Robinson, I went to go and see them, the Stanford game. But that's the last game. So I gotta catch one. I know it's overdue, gotta catch one this year. But yeah, man.
All right, man. Well, that's all I have for you. Appreciate you coming on the podcast. That was the UCF Football Updates podcast featuring former DB Kyle Gibson. All episodes of the UCF Football Updates podcast can be found on our YouTube channel or on Instagram at UCF.footballupdatespodcast. Kyle, we appreciate your time today.
I appreciate it, Alan. Thank you, man. Thanks for the opportunity, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. We love all former Knights. All right.